Hello everyone and welcome back to Paws Art. Today I'm going to be sharing my tips for fine lining. Now here I have some sketches I did earlier, and here I have my fine liners. Now my fine liners, I have a range from 0.05 to 20. So I'm going to be telling you what size I'm using if I switch, and here I have different things so I can fine line and show you. So like here's like a back portrait, but really so I have a lot of hair to fine line. Then I have like a flower, a foot with like a flip-flop on it, a smaller portrait, and then a larger portrait. So you can kind of see how I do it. So fine lining depends on the piece. I might use a thicker fine liner, or I'll use a very thin fine liner, or sometimes I'll use multiple fine liners. Now if you're ever curious about what fine liner size I'm using, then check the description of the video, I list it there. And if I am talking in that video, then I will also say it. So I'm going to start with this back portrait here, and I like to fine line the smaller details with a smaller fine liner. So I am using a 0.1 size, and I'm going to fine line her hands up to like where her sleeves start. So now I have the smaller details fine lined in a smaller size. Now I do this because that way the fine liner isn't as harsh there and doesn't really catch your eye there as much because it's meant to be a smaller detail. I could have just left the hands out, but I figured to do that so I can show you that I use a smaller fine liner on the smaller details in a bigger piece. So now I'm going to switch to a 0.3 to fine line her hair. Now you can see I'm not going in one specific section and doing all of that and then moving on. I am fine lining it as I want to. Sometimes I do start at the top and work my way down, or sometimes I'll work left to right or right to left. It all depends on the art piece and what kind of mood I'm in that day. So now I have the hair all fine lined, and sometimes what I'll do with the hair, if I really want it to be really detailed, which here already this hair is very detailed, but what I'll do is I'll take a size down or a couple sizes down and do a few smaller lines in some areas that are a little bit wider. So like here I'll do a little line with a slightly smaller fine liner to add a little bit more variety to the piece. And with this, if you're going to color it, which most times if you're fine lining it, most times you're going to be using like alcohol-based markers with it. So this can give you like really interesting shading areas to do your art. And now there's the hair complete on that one. So now I'm going to take a pretty thick fine liner, and I'm going to be using size 0.5 to outline her arms, her shoulders, around her body, her skirt, and then I'll meet you back here once I'm done with the legs. Alrighty, so I have fine lined all of that, and now I'm going to pick a fine liner for the legs and the feet and ankle area. And for that, I think I'm going to be using one again. Alrighty, and now there is that whole entire drawing finished. She is completely fine lined the way I want her to be. So now I'm going to be fine lining this little flower that I had drawn, and most times when you're drawing a flower, you might want a thinner, more dainty line. In some areas you might not even do line art on, you might just go in there and color it immediately, or you'll use like a different color other than black, but either way, these tips apply to both. So here I'm using a 0.5 as I said, and I'm just going to fine line this flower. And as you can see, the flower is now completely fine lined in the size 0.5, and it is very thin lines. So now I'm going to be fine lining this foot with a flip flop. So I think for this I want decently thick lines, so I'm going to use size 4. So there's the foot with the flip-flop fine lined in size 0.4. So now I'm going to be fine lining this little drawing up here. Now for her hair, I think I'm going to be using 1. Okay, so you can see I kind of got a little carried away here with size 0.1, but I do sometimes do this single size look. So now we are here on the big one. Now this one is probably going to have the most tips, so be sure to stick around for it all. So I'm going to start with her beautiful face here. I'm going to go in with size 0.5. Now you can see you don't have to draw like the shape of your eyebrow that you want. Here, I just did like individual marks like hairs, so you can just like follow that shape. When you're fine lining, and then that way it gives a different look if you're like just like tracing a line, or if you're following where you had colored kind of like in the sketch. So there's her eyebrows, and I'm just going to go around and do her eyes. Alrighty, so now all of her face is fine lined. And now I'm going to do her hair. I'm going to do her hair in size 20, which for my fine liners that I have, it's a brush tip. So here I'm going to be showing you how I fine line with a brush tip. Now I am not very experienced with this, so hold in there. It might not turn out amazing like this hair here did. Alright, so here you can see I did go a little cuckoo with the size 20 like I did with the previous one, but I want to show you something. Now this is another tip. So let me grab a different size fine liner. I think I'm going to go for size 9. Here, when I am doing my fine lining, here, this is kind of close to the edge. I'm not like going like this where my, you can't really see it, but I'm not having my hand hanging over the edge so I have to support my arm. I'm resting my wrist and a little bit of my arm on the table and fine lining. Is my 9 dry? I think my 9's dry, so I have to pick a different size. I'll go for size 8 then. Let's hope this one is still working. Alrighty. Alrighty, so they're all fine lined now. Now I do want to share some little bonus tips and things that you might notice in my art. Now, back in the beginning of 2021, I uploaded a video drawing Tinkerbell in my art style. And I drew her in a side profile, which I'm not very good at drawing side profiles. And the line art for that one turned out horrible. I'll put a picture on screen, but it just did not turn out well. And if you'll notice when I'm doing the fine lining part, I'm picking my pen up a lot. And that results in not very straight, even, smooth lines. It results in very jagged edges. Now that could be part of the way you draw, or it could just be a mistake by you. And I'm not saying any art is a mistake or that it's not perfect, but what I'm saying... Alright, so I don't know when my camera cut out, but anyway, if you want to see more art content, then please consider subscribing and ring the bell for notifications whenever I upload a new video. Now, please be sure to like it so other people can see it and get help with their fine lining if they want help. And be sure to comment any tips you have for me or other people to help them with their art. And I have a new posting schedule. I used to post 3 times a week. I'm taking a step back and going to 2 times a week. So my schedule is every Mondays and Thursdays. This video is going up on a Thursday, so the next video will be on Monday. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!